Cafe connoisseurs, let me tell you something right now. I can't tell you how great it is to have an incredible talent join us at the cafe table today. You all know Lamman Rucker from his standout roles in Why Did I Get Married?, Greenleaf, and more recently, The Black Hamptons. Not just is he an amazing actor, but he's a passionate advocate for change. His skills are undeniable, but Lamman's impact goes far beyond the screen. And that's what I want to talk to him about today.
Are all part of that same process, really, that we need to be going through and conversations we need to be having internally.
Just Heal, Bro, which is a national movement helping men across the country heal and grow and embrace their full selves through this storytelling platform where men are having important conversations. Let's welcome to the Cafe Counter, Mr. Lamman Rucker. Brother, I appreciate you being here.
Dave's all about you today, baby.
Yeah, man. Listen, I can't wait to jump into Just Heal, Bro, and the movement that you're sparking across the country. We always ask our guests, though, before we get started, what's in your cup? Now, right now, I'm PG. It's a little bit of tea.
Okay.
What do you normally have in your cup?
Well, not what I have in my cup today.
That's right.
Well, first of all, always my cup is full of life.
That's right.
And
that's right. And it runneth over.
Indeed. But today we're doing a little red wine, a little something, So.
Yeah. Cheers.
Soak up that. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All
Here
right.
it is. Yeah. So the Black Hamptons and Anthony Johnson.
That's a story.
The complex guy.
Yeah.
Give me the juxtaposition. How similar is he? How different is he than Lamman Rucker?
Wow, there's a lot of different ways to come to that. So I'll say, in particular, one of the things that probably a lot of people don't know is Anthony, AJ, all the many different nicknames that he has that we haven't really gone into yet, is very much like me in the fact that he's a techie. He's a math and science nerd like me. I actually have a degree in IT, in computer science and information technology. So I very much identify with his, with the scientist in him, with the math, and the way that I've created his backstory. Again, I've created to make sure there's kind of connective tissue between, he and I. Yeah. I see him as a tinkerer, one of those people that I remember. I used to take my bikes completely apart and put them back together, you know? So by the time I got to college, I could take a computer apart and, put it back together.
Yeah,
right?
just from the sheer, I'm curious.
Yeah, exactly. That thread, that exists in he and I is very much the same. So I always find a way to make sure that I very specifically and personally identify with the characters that I bring to life. So that's the fun you get to have in how I create.
But he's also different.
Very.
How is he different?
Very. So he doesn't make the best business decisions. I consider myself, right? Maybe we should say that.
Yeah.
I consider myself somebody who has very strong business acumen.
Sure.
At least overall. None of us are perfect. We are, many things are just based on projections, instinct sometimes even, but you try to be data driven when you understand that discipline too, right? And we both understand that too. So there's something about Anthony that he just sometimes he moves too much on a whim. He moves too much on impulse,
emotion.
Something that just this feels like a good idea.
Yeah.
But that's where some of his brilliance also comes from, and that's the thing. When you're also a creative, which he is, even though he's a very technical person, people forget that technical people.
You have to be creative.
It's part of it. We just call it innovation when we're in science and technology or medicine or whatever, right?
Yes.
But sometimes that creativity and that spontaneity can get the best of him, and he doesn't always pay attention to detail the way he really should, and it can catch up with him.
Yeah, no, he's fun to watch, just for sure.
And that's fun to have at least that kind of flaw, and that's a significant one.
Yeah, yeah.
Multi-million-dollar deals are at stake sometimes with his mistakes.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying?
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, but he's got hundreds of patents at the same time.
Right.
So Pick your poison.
Yeah, don't stop doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Listen, I think because of Just Heal Bro, I really want our audience to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Two words came out of just the dialogue that we just had. One was emotions, and sometimes emotions gets downgraded to being beneath men when it's simply a core part of who we are.
100%.
And you cannot be who you should be, who you could be, unless you embrace the whole 360 man.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
You're getting to the core of that. Tell us about Just Heal Bro.
Yeah, so great segue, by the way. But
that's going in the
so
final.
So Just Heal Bro. So first of all, I'll say I'm one of the earliest and the origin kind of voices of how this thing has taken shape, but I can't claim to be a creator of it per se. So I just want to adequately give that just due to one, Hope Allen, who's a producer of the tour, business manager as well. And the client that is also my brother, Dr. Jay Barnett. Actually, our Just Heal Bro tour came and originated from a book, journal that he penned for men titled Just Heal Bro. So that really was the genesis of that language and doing this tour with that particular focus. Now, Hope and I have talked about other things. We actually were in the process of doing another tour that was also a men's tour. And we'd be talking about just what it means to be a man in general, and obviously having some of these very specific themes. But when this relationship with Jay really started to evolve, it was very clear that this was the direction, and he was that tipping point. Right?
Yeah, no, and it's interesting, right? Because it's not a common direction of conversation amongst guys at the bar, at this game, or whatever it is.
I disagree.
Okay, so let's talk about it, because you're making it more comfortable.
Because the way, it's just a matter of what we call it and the way it comes up.
It's the name.
We call it chopping it up. We call it talking whatever. Yeah. We call it locker room talk, or we call it, maybe you don't always trust every man in the room at that level of intimacy where you would have certain levels of conversation. But typically there's at least one of them dude, like, nah, like Dave. Nah, like that's like that. No, not I rock with him. That's my man. That's my dude. That's my dog. Like, I know his business. He knows my, like, sometimes that intimacy, if you even have it at all, as men. And that's the scary part. Some men don't have anybody
and have never had.
Some only have one. But what we believe is that you even should and could, and really, I think, as heavy as life can be, maybe even require a little more than just one.
That's right.
And one of my philosophies is I have at least one at different age levels, different, like, I've got a diversity of kind of communities and support, right? And communities and support, right? As well as where I play a role sometimes in support in any of those spaces, but there are also times where I'm the one in there because that's where I get support. I even tell nieces, nephews, godchildren, hey, don't just call me because you need something from me. Call me whenever you think of me. And call me, check on Unc. Check on me. Make sure I'm good.
That's right.
Come just send me some love. Matter of fact, I don't have to keep you on the phone. Just send me a text. Hey, thinking about you, Unc, or love you,
means a
or
lot.
what's up, or how you doing, whatever that is. And all of that's important. So I just think we often just call it different things. It takes a different type of shape sometimes. And what we often don't do, where I do agree with you, is we often don't really give ourselves enough time, enough space to really talk about it.
Right.
What's like, I'm like, all right, I like something's going on with you, man. What's good, man? My girl, she tripping. Right. You're like,
and
you good?
Something else.
I'm all right, man. Right. And then as a dude, sometimes you just know, just stay close. Right. Like, we ain't even got to talk about it. He don't really see, he ain't saying much. We don't even need to talk. Sometimes it's just, I'm gonna just be here. You know, you chilling, you watching the game, and we know that's what our emotional support sometimes looks like, right? But there are other times where, depending on the men and depending on maybe one of the guys, you might also know. And I'm the one that more than likely, I'm not just going to leave it just at that, at least not most of the time.
Right.
I'm going to throw a little bit of inquiry in there.
Maybe it's
I'm going to share an opportunity for some of that to come out, you know, or I might even just say like, hey, man, you said you good, but what's that mean? Like, you good?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or
what
like, how she tripping? Yeah. Like, what's she, you know?
What
or I might say like, hey, man, your girl tripping, my wife tripping too. So just know whether it's marriage or girlfriends, I understand, right? Sometimes it's that.
They
it's
all
that touch. It's that whatever, I understand. And then sometimes that creates opportunity for more information to come out, or it just, you might not talk
whether
about it
then or eventually.
Exactly.
That's exactly.
But then what you've done is at least broken the ice and created opportunity and trust and reminder that when you're ready to go into this more, I'm here for you.
You hit two really important points. We call it ego, it's emotion. We don't use ego like the philosophers use.
Right.
It's emotion.
Yeah,
the guy's ego, no, that's his emotion.
Right.
Number two, this idea of more than just one confidant, somebody who you get. There's a Japanese concept of a moai and why they think, for example, in Okinawa, that they live so long. It's not just what they eat and what they do. Yeah. It's also this supportive environment, belonging to this Japanese to this moai.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, here's a little Japanese for you. Kampai.
Oh, I don't know that.
All right. Yeah. That's what we say when we.
Yeah.
I want to toast that for you because, that's good stuff. Yeah.
So let's go to.
That's why you got to travel the world, man. You got to read. You got to, again, diversify your information.
Gives you so much perspective.
Yeah, it really does.
And if there's people out here living in 100, I want to kind of know what they're doing. It's not
that?
genes. This is something that they're doing.
How about that?
So, with that being said, there are probably men as you go from city to city who don't have that, and not one. Yeah. And they never have. Yeah. I wonder if you can think of stories that were told in these settings. And I know the wavelength is on another level. Yeah. Where a man is telling you for the first time, I never had that. Yep. Thank you for telling me it's okay. Yes. Yes. You see, do any of those stories? Not only that is obviously a very dominant response. But one of the other things that really kind of unfortunately started to blow my mind was also men who have literally said, this is the first time I've been able to talk about this in 40 years. Like that type of thing. Wow. When you got your uncles and your fathers and grandfathers in the room, I've been holding on to this like as long as you've been alive type, like that's where you're like, okay, this is a problem. But then there's other things that also informs. Sometimes there are those generational dynamics, right? So I believe every generation of men has broken through certain kind of emotional, barriers as well. There's certain things that men did our grandfather's age that they had to do or that they had to really focus on then in order to get their kids to the next step, right? Time. And then those sons who then became fathers not only had their traumas from being raised by that man, but also had a lot of positive things from those men that they then brought forward. Yeah. But then also decided, you know what? I'm not doing A, B, C that my father did. I'm going to do something different. Yeah. The next generation then had, there's similar responses, not only to this generation, to the generation before. And I think a lot of what we're seeing now is our sons who have become fathers and some who are just still sons, but just the fact that they're men. Yeah. The way they're learning to process, the way they're learning to prioritize their mental health, the way they're learning to articulate their feelings, acknowledge their ego, and get their pride out of the way in order to say what it is they really want to say, not express things with their hands and through anger and through thrashing and through hurting other people or hurting themselves. I mean, one of the crazy things that you'll learn, and Jay has openly shared this, that's the only reason why I'm taking the liberty to do so, is that he's a 2-time suicide survivor. He's been a cutter. He's taken, pills, so I mean, and he's brilliant. Yeah. Beautiful brother, inside and out, attractive brother. Yeah, I mean, we're all fit. We all these handsome brothers on stage who you wouldn't think have any problems, right? So, but every generation, and again, he's acknowledging that a lot of what he has been going through was also in direct correlation to his relationship with his father, who was present.
And most of our fathers are, which is another thing that we're working to work against, that these narratives that black men and black fathers aren't present.
Yeah.
We are. It's just, what are those influences? How are we processing at every level of generation? What are our priorities for ourselves and our children? Therefore, how we parent, but then also how do we parent, i.e. care for ourselves and one another. So what a lot of men are saying is, I haven't been able to do this before. And thank God that I'm still alive, that now you generations after me are creating an opportunity for me to finally share this. And then there are peers who are finally saying, yeah, you wouldn't think so, because in this body, what also exists is a little boy who was sexually violated when he was a boy, or even as a teenager, which we assume, oh, by the time he's a certain age, he can protect himself. He can do this, he can do that, right? So the stories that you hear that are this range of sometimes, again, not only a lack of self-care, and not only people who have crossed certain boundaries of safety and provision, right? And harmed people in other ways, these traumas that we haven't really talked about, that I also believe are spiritual and multi-generational traumas that we're also carrying forward. I got 400 years at least of stuff.
Some of it comes
that's still in my cells. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it is just having the opportunity to be still, to be quiet, and to have nobody in the room but us. Quiet, create that safety so that we can really, really talk about what's really going on. And that's the thing. Most guys are like, can we do this tomorrow? Like, do we have to leave? Because I'm finally getting what I need. So that's the thing. That finally, that's been probably the most piercing thing.
To your point, I think that some of that is what we're seeing in other industries. We're going to have a music industry producer come in and
everybody everywhere.
You know, this idea that you could, and it seems to me that a guy, it's just not going to be as easy for him to come and say, hey, listen, I was actually sexually abused, and I was sexually abused more than once. And what that does to him over time. To find a platform where you can say it once must be an avalanche of healing.
And then actually
growth.
say it out loud.
And to say it out loud
for yourself,
in front of,
and how that liberates
somebody.
How many other people possibly in that same room who aren't saying it out loud, who haven't told anybody, still may not, but at least it's been modeled, or at least, not just me. Whatever that is, there's a way.
Only guy on the planet.
There's a way that liberates you and at least creates opportunity for you to say, oh yeah, I need to do that. I need to say that. I need to find a way to take that, to take that step.
The idea, I just wanted to say this idea that it's only certain men who can be present but not engaged, present but not enrolled is a different thing, right? Because across races, across socioeconomic, you can have a father in the home, but not necessarily engaged, enrolled for any number of reasons, right?
So not emotionally present,
not emotionally
for any number skilled, of reasons, right? Even if he's emotionally present, that sometimes emotionally present means angry all the time, or hurt all the time, or sad oftentimes, or then the thing that makes it more complex is no, he's not sad all the time. Just sometimes. So then the great times are great times, but when he's sad,
it's very sad.
He doesn't do that well. Sometimes, even again, when it comes to drinking and things like that, I indulge only occasionally because I've seen what alcohol has done to my family. I've seen what substance abuse has done to my family and others. So I've made a choice to limit, because again, I might not even know what this is capable of. But the irony is when people celebrate, they celebrate with this.
That's right.
When they're sad, they're in their sadness with this. So sometimes just having certain elements in your life, in your body, in your chemistry, in your home, and in your proximity, those are the habits that need to be broken. In addition to, how do I behave when things are good, and understand this too, I like to say, hey, this too will also pass.
It has to pass.
It won't be like this all the time.
My mom
when things are bad, same thing. It won't be like this all the time. So I think men have a difficulty feeling flat and feel like in order to be this super successful person, I gotta be on 10, right? And if I'm down here, that's too low, but we overcompensate. And then we're doing this as opposed to learning how to find peace. Peace within ourselves, peace in our home. We're asking other people to create that space for us, but we don't know how to do that for ourselves. So, and that's what's important. When I learned that, and when I've seen that modeled by other men, when they have a lifestyle, a spiritual foundation, whatever it is, right? And that runs the gamut of variation. God comes to everybody on the planet. You know what I'm saying? So there's so many traditions you can choose from. But people who have some kind of spiritual construct for themselves, but they also have other mechanisms of self-expression, of identity, of cultural pride, of there's certain real clear through lines that they're like boxes you can check where this dude who, again, not just seems like, because that's a whole nother thing, but even the ones who seem like it, the ones who are doing quite well, not only professionally, but personally, spiritually, emotionally, there's not necessarily a standardized formula, but there are some common,
and that's what you're teaching them on the tour.
Exactly. But part of it also is, it's not the same thing for everybody. Find yours, right? But here's a place to start where here's some tools, some techniques, some language, some mechanisms, that you can use to your advantage to get you to that healthy place, to that healthy space where you can live in and function in at a high level. That's not just survival. It's not just, surviving, but thriving.
As they did before, it's this evolution of the man that you're talking about. I want to continue this conversation about evolving. We're going to bring in a music industry expert. He's going to talk about what that mental health piece is like in the music industry. We'll be right back.
Find the Health Mastery Café on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Health Mastery Café, and subscribe on YouTube.
Cafe family, listen, the cafe counter is on fire today. You hear me? Joining us is Grammy-nominated music producer Kameron, aka Hollywood Cole.
When I first started making beats, it was never like, oh, I'm trying to be a producer, I'm trying to be that. Bro, I was in Virginia staying with my moms. I was just making beats, coming back from college, going back to mom's house, just still cooking up.
He's worked with greats like Nicki Minaj, Lil Wayne, Drake, Jack Harlow, and many, many more. You've heard his music all over the place, but I'm bringing him here to dive into the music industry. Hollywood, welcome to the Cafe Counter.
Good to see you.
Yes, sir. All right, man. You got a lot going on, man.
Yes, sir.
You just flew in.
Yep.
Doing your thing.
Yep.
Were you working with Jack?
I was in Louisville, Kentucky working with Jack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, are we gonna see it soon or what?
Yeah, we got some stuff in the works, man. It's hopefully, everybody gets a chance to hear everything soon. So
yeah. You're living your dream, man.
Yes, sir.
And although it's easy for people who just get to sort of know your name, you've been doing this for a long time. It's hard to hear when people say, oh, he's an upstart. What? Upstart? When did you just start this?
Right.
Tell us about how that feels, right? You're relatively new in name to many people, but you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, it's a very great feeling, man. Like I come from a creative family, so I just feel like, man, it's always been I always feel like I wanted to like prove myself to my parents. I was a kid that kind of like, I went to college, but I didn't finish college. And it's something that I wanted to just, show my mother and father that, like, this is something that he did on his own, and this is his journey, and this is his path. And I feel like I accomplished that. I feel like I had a conversation with my father. I feel like I had a conversation with my mother, and it's been it's been a journey.
You had a conversation with your folks.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you tell us, give us a summary of that? Because Lamman and I were just talking about the importance of conversations like that just simply aren't happening. And for a lot of men, just never happened in their lifetimes.
Right.
What was that like?
It was good. My parents, I've always had a very open relationship with my parents. So it was very, very easy conversation to just express myself and just tell them, everything that I have going on, whether it be like how I feel in the industry or what's kind of going on with me mentally. So it was an easy conversation just to kind of talk to them and let them know, that they are proud of me and, that it was a clean conversation. So
that's the word. I'm proud of you.
Right.
Some men actually don't hear that.
We need to say it to each other more often.
We need to say it
for sure.
Do you hear on the tour that guys hear that for the first time? Is that something that you're getting on the chest, bro?
For sure. I've said it And I've said it numerous times, and I've been very intentional about that because I know that men don't hear it often. They don't hear it often at all, let alone often just as peers. It's important to say that, to one another, whether they're your little brothers and nephews or whether they're, even older men. Are you telling your father, your uncle, your grandfather, your teacher?
Proud to be your son.
It sounds, or no, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
It's something for some reason we think it's designated just for some small child. But what we forget is how important that encouragement is, just even in parallel relationships or whatever. It's the same.
The music industry, it's just getting raked over the coals, and maybe it's deserved. Here's the question. How do you stay above the fray? How do you stay out of all of that stuff?
Yeah. I think I just think it comes from being grounded and have a good family base around you, having a village, I think a village of friends and family is very, very important. So I think that's one of the main things that just kind of keeps me grounded and keeps me above the fray.
So you can be in the studio, because there's all manner of stuff happening in that little studio, booth area with all those little machines y'all have.
Right.
Forgive me because I don't know the name.
No
like
worries.
A million little buttons. That thing. What's that thing?
Yeah. Keyboards.
That thing.
Yep.
Right. So there's all manner of stuff. You're just in the craft, and next thing you know, something behind you.
Right.
When you are not in that, are you ostracized? Are you kind of, say, man, you don't want to be down with us? Is that happening?
I think you got to be true to yourself, I think that's the most important thing. You got to make sure you always stay true to yourself, and you'll be good. You got to make sure you just stay true to yourself.
You got to know who yourself is.
Yeah,
that's huge. That is so huge. Look, I'm sweating over here because that's so huge.
Yeah.
No, I can even think back as early as middle school, elementary school. Look, every time I think of one thing, I think it's not being afraid to say no. I'm not coming with y'all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not being afraid to be teased for being on honor roll, even right. Or for even though 30 people going that way, or so and such and such about to fight. I remember that a couple times. Everybody wants to go see the fight, and something inside you says, I don't want to go, or I shouldn't go, or I'm going to get in trouble if I go, type of thing.
Right.
And then you do this, even though everybody else is going that way. It's having the courage to continue to do that. College, got teased. Again, I played ball as well. So, guys are going out partying, drinking. Again, these lifestyles aren't far from each other. Entertainment, being a collegiate or professional athlete, music, whatever. Again, it ain't just the studio.
It's like that.
It's the beforehand, it's the party, it's the this, it's just kicking it over so-and-so's whatever, or this cookout that then turns into something else. Or you look over there, what's that on the table? Or what are they drinking? Or what are they doing?
Right.
It's just knowing that's not for me. Right. I'm walking this way and being okay with that, no matter what the consequences. I'd rather suffer those consequences than suffer the consequences of being in spaces I know I don't belong.
Right.
And I don't want to be there. And even there's people I know who want to be there. They've even said, ooh, I wanted to stay so bad, but I got out of there. You know what I mean? Something told me to leave. And the courage to keep yourself, like he said, grounded, to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself away from some of the other patterns. Everybody and everything isn't like that. And again,
say that part again.
There's another, everybody and everything isn't like that. But when those things show up, you got to know, I'm good. I'm not going, that's not how I'm going to do this, you know, and to trust your voice, trust your journey, and trust that, that intuition, of your own. So for him to say that not only speaks volumes about him, and his maturity and his evolution, even though, he's the young buck, of us all, right? You shaved it all, and I can't hide it.
But I can't grow it. So.
Right. But, it shows not only his maturity, right? But also, again, to his point, the foundation of it all, the environment, the community, the family, and how important that is, and how important that is to be sustained throughout. Because even when you're an adult, I also believe not only do you need support, you still got to have people to answer to.
So that's important. Right?
You still got to have people to answer to, not only yourself, but God.
There's still a hierarchy. There's still somebody to report to. What have been things that you found that have surprised you about the music industry? You were not ready for this part, but it's very real.
That's a good question.
Something that surprised me.
Anything you didn't see coming?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, one thing is just like, I feel one thing I would say is, you have to be very, very like disciplined. And so with that, like, I say this to a lot of like upcoming producers, like you have to be in the gym. And by being in the gym is like, you have to study, you have to perfect your craft. And I feel like that's one thing you have to always be prepared.
Yeah.
And that's with anything, but I feel like as a producer, man, you have to be prepared. You got to do your due diligence on the artist that you're about to work with. You got to make sure you're just up ahead of the game. So you just got to stay locked in.
I think it's really helpful to be more specific because, again, as an artist and somebody who teaches, coaches, all of that too, right? I think there's assumptions as to what that means, but I think if I can ask you to be a little bit more specific about that, what does that mean? Does that mean when you're not working, you're researching other technology or you're just playing around?
And to piggyback off of that, it's like Kobe Bryant didn't become Kobe Bryant by just shooting 100 jump shots. He used to shoot 1,000 jump shots in the gym. So by that, if you think about a producer has to study music. You have to dig for samples. You have to learn how to play keys. You have to kind of become a little bit versed in music theory. So that's just studying and knowing what you do. And if you're a producer, you have to study all across the board.
Yeah, and I also feel like there is people who do it and do it really well, like you do. There is a call. No, I mean seriously, there is a calling. So you get a message that the other guy who's been trying for equally as long or longer doesn't get. And I think that's because you're in your purpose. So here's the question that I always ask. So, Quincy Jones, they play a lot of Quincy Jones.
God rest his soul.
Right.
He said, the melodies are from God. Everything else you can study. You can study orchestration. You can study how to do harmony. You show me what that harmony is, boom, I can just plug that right in.
Right.
The programs are doing the harmony.
Right.
But the melodies come from God. If you're not open and receptive to the message from God, you're not getting it.
Right.
And if you're not walking in your purpose, you don't get it. So does your spine tingle when you get that? Ooh, that's a good one. Woo, ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah, I think it's a feeling that you get.
Yeah.
I think it's a certain feeling that's just like, man, I know this is special. And I feel like I don't get that all the time, but when I do, I definitely am aware.
Yeah,
So
and you see the lifespan of that thing, whatever that piece of work is, and you're like, yeah, I knew it.
Even the people in the room, like you can tell when something is very special.
Yeah,
like that's one thing I try to make sure I'm a very just aware person as far as like being in the studio, knowing like, okay, this is a vibe, but like I know when I have that feeling, I know other people are gonna feel that as well.
Pharrell talks about seeing it. Like he sees like colors and stuff.
Synesthesia.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Do you have something like that?
It's
like,
funny. I was just in the studio. I was just having this conversation with a couple of people, and I do. So like Miles Davis, or let's just say like Anita Baker. I feel like a lot of their music is to me, it's very blue, which is moody. I feel like it's very brown. Blues and browns are like moody to me. I think somebody that makes bright music sometimes would be like Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder can have oranges.
Yeah, I say orange and yellow.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
Synesthesia.
And the crazy thing is, it's the same for me.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm in more of a visual medium, but as an actor, we're trained, our entire body is our instrument.
You're a part of it.
So we're not only using the ear, we're not only using the eye, we're not only speaking, we're using literally our entire body.
Yeah.
So not only is that feeling like he's talking about, like there's literally like not just a physical response, it's something that you can't even articulate it, but you know it when you feel it, and you're like, ooh,
that's it.
There that is again. Or you're like, what was that?
Right.
That's new. That's the other thing too. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
That's new, but part of that comes from a self-awareness.
That's it.
But then when you start to tap into it and start to become conscious of it, you're like, oh, wow, I'm seeing orange.
Yeah.
Or, oh, wow, like.
It's like Neo on the Matrix. He didn't know he had that power.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, the guy's going backwards.
So imagine if
Right.
every person on this planet took the time and had the focus and the discipline, at the same time, the freedom and the liberation and the freedom of discovery to find that for themselves. Everybody is Neo. Everybody has that superpower. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has a thing. Everybody gets a tingling. Everybody's operating on a certain frequency and is connected to this eternal source of what all this brilliance
That's when
is.
when you get to your wavelength.
Man.
You get to your wavelength, you get that tingle.
Yeah.
You get
And can't nothing stop you.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's the thing, they can't nothing stop you.
And here, the other
Unless
piece
you
to
stop
this-
yourself.
The other piece to this is we don't give, us enough leeway to just tingle in whatever wavelength you're going to tingle.
That's right.
Whatever's going to make your spine tingle.
Right.
You do not have to be a doctor.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, don't go do that.
Yeah, college ain't for everybody.
Go do
Right.
Or at least not right away.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of us having the freedom. So that's why a lot of these little structures that we operate in, they all need to be reimagined.
Yeah.
And I'm an educator, but I'm all for to hell with the school day.
Yeah.
I'm all for, again, challenging medicine. Nope. The hospital system, the this, the that, how we go about so many different things. There's a lot of that really needs to have just
and
infinite
and
kind
the
of
truth is,
shape,
Lamman, that there's
and
somebody
freedom
whose
to it.
spine tingles when they do those individual things,
Yeah.
and us sort of supporting them. William James said, compared to what we ought to be, we're only half.
Only half of that.
We're only using part of our mental and physical
Yeah.
resources, right?
Right,
So,
yeah.
so this idea that everybody can know the truth, like the young potential said to Neo when he was bending that spoon. To know the truth is that it's not the spoon that bends, it's only yourself. Once
Right.
you figure out what that is for you, know thyself. That's the phrase on the Temple of
Well,
Delphi.
that's-
Once you know yourself and you start tingling it,
Yeah.
I know it makes me
Yeah.
tingle. I
Yeah.
know when I want to see
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah.
And if you're around other people who tingle,
There you
there's
go.
all kind of tingling going on.
Right, right.
I don't know. That sounds like something else now that I said it out loud.
Yeah, but everybody's spine tingling.
But yeah.
Your hairs are raising up. That's a real.
But that's
central
why
nervous
when you're in
area.
these communities of, like people are always shocked that there's all this brilliance that exists within this particular time frame or this particular community or this particular part of the world or even throughout history. There's a reason why there are very specific periods throughout the continent of Africa where all of this stuff was happening right
Yeah,
here.
right,
It's because all of these similarly like-minded,
Yeah.
like-spirited people were saying, you know what? I'm functioning at that level of vibration too.
Yeah.
And when you all start to be in the same place, it just heightens everything everybody is able, is able to do. Life
and evolve.
and evolve.
So here's the question for you, Hollywood Cole. This idea that physical health, because you talked about the gym, and I that is a part of, of longevity. That's a part of functioning at your highest level of central nervous system function.
Right.
So not only are the guys that Lamman and his crew are going across the country, they're trying to bring in the psycho-emotional side, this part that you can't get rid of, you can't get out of it alive, you got to pull it in, but you got to pay attention to your body. So physically, you have to be working out. How do you see physical fitness in your whole day-to-day operation? Do you even have time?
Right.
I mean, because y'all in there till 3, 4 in the morning.
Right. I think it's about creating a routine for yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like, you got to create a routine, especially for creatives. A lot of creatives have a lot of free time. So I feel like you have to create create some type of structure. And so I think working out and being in the gym is very, very important. It's just for mental clarity,
That's it. And I don't think that's the message that many men will sort of embrace. We go, and if we reflect on it, we know, I just function better when I'm in the gym regularly. Right.
And it doesn't have to be an hour.
And it doesn't have to be an hour
You
at all.
just 45
And
minutes.
it could be
10 minutes.
And it could be
On the floor.
In the crib. Yeah.
Roll off the bed onto the floor, knock some things out right there on the bed. Throw your feet up, knock out some crunches, do this, do some planks.
I know.
And
Don't
go
trip
on your
on
way.
it. Don't sleep on the plate.
Don't sleep on that plank.
We do a plate right now. We all pass out.
Like, you're-
So,
hey, I'm ready. 2 minutes. Like, let's
yeah,
go.
No. Let's come back and do that one next time. I speak too much, Spoke too soon.
Spoke too soon.
Hollywood. The pay gap. There's a difference. In what you can command. That hits different, man, for different guys, different gals in the music industry. Are you seeing any of that now, or you're like, okay, nope, I'm good. That's not affecting me in any way.
I think when I started, it was kind of like that a little bit more. So I think now I'm at a level where it's gotten better. I just think you gotta make sure you have a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Having business right, that's one of the best things you can have is having a good lawyer.
So a lawyer vis-a-vis the deals, or a lawyer look at
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. So
No,
that's everything. That's contracts, that's deals, that's making sure your royalties are straight. So that's the number one thing, man. You got to make sure you have your business right.
I never understood how they can tell what the royalties are. I mean, is there some kind of machine that's doing that? Especially now. I guess it's easier
I mean,
now.
yeah, streaming, everything is all wonky now, but first and foremost, man, lawyer protects you.
Yeah.
So you have to have a lawyer, so.
Yeah.
But there are electronic things. There are ways that there are literally kind of like, there are things that are coded, in the proprietary kind of files, these, of the music and films and things that literally there's like a little tag in it that every time somebody, like, so there are little nanotechnologies that do exist. And then we have our unions, he would have ASCAP, for example, my Screen Actors Guild. Like there are entities and top technologies that are in place to protect us as much as possible. Mm-hmm. But since technology is changing so fast, these streaming technologies and things are changing. Again, AI, this, that, and the third. It is really tough on this analytical side to keep track of everything all the time and making sure you're getting what you're due and what you're owed.
Because it's the music business,
Yeah, you always got to remember that.
You're versed in the business at first,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the game is real. Yeah. The game is real, not just in music and entertainment and medicine. It's all real, and just being smart and as savvy as you possibly can is just a part of it.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
1,000%.
We can't change the game right now. The question for everybody is, how do you still win in that game? Mm-hmm. I want to ask you this because it's easy to be, y'all cranking it out. It's 2 a.m. and you get a migraine. You're like, oh man, I got a migraine. Yeah. let me just go sit in the corner. Yeah. But it's not easy to say, we're just 3 a.m. and you're feeling so depressed at that moment. You're around people, but you feel totally alone. Mm-hmm. That's not a conversation. So Lamman and I were sort of talking about how men now are starting to evolve. And the generation after us, right? Because we were saying, hey, the generation after us is going to be so much better at it.
That's our prayer.
But right now, we're not in that generation. Right. How do you do that? Because there's folks you're in the lab with now, and they ain't doing so good. Right. Literally contemplating suicide, as we talked about before you came on.
Right. And I think it kind of goes back to having that village, like kind of what I mentioned earlier, having somebody you can talk to. If I'm in the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm kind of feeling depressed, man, you got to step away and give some time for yourself. Yeah. If I need to call somebody or having a friend, so I just think it starts with having that village and having somebody you can talk to, and get outside of the studio and, have a conversation with. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, no, I appreciate both of you. I really feel like this is a conversation that we can continue to have. And I hope that another time that we can do that. Mm-hmm. I want everybody to kind of hear how we can support you. What's happening right now, Hollywood, that we can kind of support you in right now?
Man, I'm working on a lot, but I don't want to say too much, but I'm just trying to finish out this year strong. Yeah. And
it's about to be. We're
gonna get ready for next year. For sure. Yep.
Calm before I'll say it for you. It's the calm before the storm.
Yeah. He's humble. I'll say it. It's about to be fine. Lamman, tell us what's on tap.
Hey, same thing. It's like 2025 is going to be a huge year. Mm-hmm. I already know just what 2025 is going to mean to me personally, just with milestones in my life. My 10-year wedding anniversary, for example. I already see and hear and feel like really intrinsically some of the stuff that is burgeoning. I feel the lava brewing. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a matter of time before things really start to become apparent. Nobody else even has to know or see it. I'll know what change looks like. I'll know what that success, looks like. So there are very clear goals that I have, but it's another year of planting seeds and sowing those seeds that there's a whole nother level of excitement about 25 that, again, I'm trying to articulate it. Other than that, man,
Yeah. No, you're hitting it right on the head, that the uncertainty is not the thing that I'm focusing on. It's the expectation. Yeah. That you have a sense of feeling
not even expectation.
Of expectation. Belief. I expect
it's belief.
For this to
it is belief. Like this.
It's gonna be all right.
Straight up. It's like finding a way to really legitimately be in the no fear zone.
Mm-hmm. Lamman Rucker, Hollywood Cole, I appreciate y'all brothers for coming to the cafe, man. Let's do it again. Yes, thank you, sir.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, no doubt. Right. It's fire. It's fire.
What it is.
As you all know, I always say this every single time. There's nothing more important than your health. Now go master it.
Love it.